Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I'm your host, Dave, and I had planned to make this intro super quick because I just worked a 15-hour day. I just got home at 9 o'clock at night after getting to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I've just got stuff I've got to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it as quickly as possible. This week's episode, is a talk about the general state of wrestling with myself, our pals Arian and Mike Gordon, and it was recorded after we had just seen a set of NWA Power tapings, which, by the way, if you're not watching NWA Power, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's the most fun wrestling on TV right now. And prior to the Royal Rumble. So we don't really address the Royal Rumble too much, but I am going to talk about the event overall itself a little bit right after I hit some news. Item number one in the notes, I have to make a correction from last week, or maybe not even from last week, for years now, really. Diamond Select Toys did indeed release the entire crew of the Enterprise from Wrath of Khan. I have been saying for a long time now, at least since last year's Toy Fair, that nobody's done it. And I was very excited for Mego's releases that still haven't come out yet, but that I do have pre-ordered from BigBadToyStore.com, the Kirk, Spock, and Khan that have been offered thus far, and I have every faith looking at the rest of their lines. If they're going to do like the whole Happy Days gang and everybody from the Brady Bunch, then I have faith that they will produce the entire Enterprise crew. But I've said many times over the years that nobody's ever done it. Diamond Select Toys did do it. However, some of them were retailer exclusives. Sulu, Chekhov, I think Scotty. So they were weird things like Puzzle Zoo exclusives or whatever. So it's not like these were widely available. You had to jump through some hoops to put your crew together. And look, I'm a huge fan of Diamond Select. You know, for a long time I was putting over their vinyl bust banks as being an amazing cheaper alternative to actually owning statues. I'm a huge fan of a lot of their Select figures. Overall, I really love the things that Diamond Select does, but those Star Trek figures don't look good. They just don't. I've got the Screaming, I've got the Khan Kirk that they released, and it's cool, a novelty item for what it is, but they're just not great figures, and that's how it is. So I'm thrilled that Mego is coming in strong with some great-looking figures that are sort of appropriate to the era. The only thing I might like even more is if Super 7, well, not Super 7, because they're going to charge $18 a piece for them, if Funko maybe wanted to do them as part of their 3 3/4 inch range. But I don't know that that's likely to happen. So anyway, super excited about the Migos. Just had to make that little correction for myself because I discovered it the other day on the greatest action figure resource on the internet, FigureRealm.com. So go check them out if you want to look at any lineups of action figures. It's a great place. You'll spend hours there. Second thing, I wanted to put over my appearance on the Nerdy Laser podcast. I believe it will be up by the time this episode posts. But I am not positive about that. I did not check with Rich to see when it was going to go up, but I had a great time, just general toy talk. We sat down and just had a conversation about toys for like an hour, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and I kind of wish we'd done it for this show, but it's always great talking to Rich, and I'm thrilled to be on Nerdy Laser anytime my schedule and his schedule allows. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not following Nerdy Laser, go follow Nerdy Laser Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, just like you do with Needless Things, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. Spotify is a great alternative. I've just started using it for listening to podcasts. Some of the WWE ones, that's the easiest way to get them. The New Day podcast is amazing. I've been thoroughly enjoying that. So, yeah, they're all over the place, these podcast things. Just remember to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Masters of the Universe, the movie that was slated to come out in March of 2021 and is starring some dude from some teen thing. I can't remember his name. I don't have all the information in front of me because, like I said, it's been a long day. That movie no longer on the slate for Sony, which is potentially unfortunate for Mattel because they're launching an all-new Masters of the Universe toy line this fall. Now, I don't know how closely that toy line was tied into the movie because the movie wasn't hitting until March. And these are not movie toys. These are a reimagining of the vintage Masters of the Universe toy line. So it's not like they were directly tied into the movie, but it's one of those things where like the name recognition of the movie was probably helping to get these toys into the store in a way. And if you want an equivalent of what these are going to be, go to your Walmart right now and you can find Masters of WWE, I think the line is called. It's a mashup between Masters of the Universe and WWE, obviously. And they look great. They are fully articulated. They have the shape and aesthetics of the classic He-Man figures, but they have knees and elbows and ball joints at the shoulders and ankle, like all kinds of articulation. It's crazy. Wrists, everything. And apparently you can mix and match all the parts as well. And they've got removable armor that you can remove almost all of the armor that's on them and make them look like just regular wrestling figures. I mean, in that Masters Universe style, but like John Cena's John Cena, Finn Balor's Finn Balor. I've decided I'm not going to collect them. I just don't need that particular mashup in my life, and there's just too much other stuff I am collecting now. But I think they look great, and I'll be honest, if they were $10 a piece instead of $15 a piece, I probably would have been even more tempted. But just keep an eye out for those. That's what the Masters of the Universe Origins line is going to look like when it hits this fall. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more about that at Toy Fair. Moving along. So Masters of the Universe movie, though, live-action movie, is which surprised nobody. And now it is time to move along to some thoughts about the Royal Rumble. And I'm not going to do another sting here because this is sort of news, but not really. I don't know. It's my lead-in to the conversation that we have about wrestling because I feel like I need to address the Rumble since it has happened since we recorded. Brock Lesnar, obviously, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of what they do with Brock Lesnar all the time. I am a fan of Brock Lesnar. I'm just not always... How he's used is frustrating to me sometimes. And it certainly was frustrating for the first 16 entrants into this year's Royal Rumble because it was feeling like this is going to literally be the worst Rumble in the history of the Royal Rumble. But then it got turned around, I feel. And look, John Morrison, yes, got thrown right out. Kofi, Big E, Keith Lee, Braun Strowman, all of these guys just got tossed. I mean, granted, some offense was gotten in by some of them, but it felt like, man, they're just killing they're burying their entire men's division. But the thing is, with Lesnar's reputation and the way they have used him, he's a division killer, and he is intentionally that way. So none of these guys lost anything by getting tossed by Lesnar because nobody has a chance against Lesnar anyway, except for our new shining white knight, Drew McIntyre, who came in, whooped all kinds of ass, and with an assist from Ricochet, who was getting a little payback from Raw, eliminated Brock Lesnar and went on to win the entire Rumble. And I've got to say, having taken the whole thing in, once it's done, once all 29 other men are eliminated, it's one of the best Rumbles I've ever seen. Because at the end, we got Edge's return, we got MVP's return, and at the end, like, usually you get down to the last 4, maybe even 3 guys before you feel like, well, I don't know which one of these could win. I feel like there were still like 7, 8 guys in the match when it got to the point where you really didn't know who might win the thing. Sure, after eliminating Lesnar, McIntyre seemed like the obvious choice, but the way that they booked the end of the Rumble, it really felt like we had true contenders in, and I think more at the same time at the end of the Rumble than I can remember there ever being. So it was very cool. Pardon me, I'm having a little beverage to help soothe my nerves after a long, arduous day. I felt like the Men's Rumble ended up being great. I also felt like the Women's Rumble ended up being great. And we had a great appearance from Molly Holly. No Sasha Banks, apparently. I don't know if she's kayfabe injured or injured. And whatever the case may be, I hope to see her back in the ring doing her thing as soon as possible. But Beth Phoenix, 100% the MVP of the Women's Rumble, with a massive, bloody, gory head wound, just giving her that Ric Flair look, just toughing it out all the way through so she could get to her business at the end. I thought the Santina thing was shameful, and it's a little gross that in 2020 we have a guy taking up a slot. Now, granted, I don't know really who could have gone in that slot, but I didn't like that. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And look, as you'll hear in our wrestling conversation, I can enjoy some of the goofier stuff WWE does, but this was not one of the things I appreciated. But in the end, it came down to Charlotte Flair winning the Rumble, which is really weird because, prior to the Rumble, everybody was like, oh, Shayna's going to win. Baszler's a lock. Shayna Baszler, 100% going to win. And now, all over the internet, the sentiment is, well, it was obvious Charlotte is going to win, and I can't believe they went with such an obvious pick. I didn't read anybody claiming Charlotte is a shoo-in the way that they seem to be claiming she was now. And I'll tell you this right now. Charlotte Flair, for the past year, has been underutilized. And look, I wouldn't even put her in my top 5 favorite women between WWE and NXT. But I recognize that she is natural-born genetic championship material. She carries herself like a professional, like few others do. Her presence, I would say, is almost unmatched in the wrestling world. Now, in the ring, I've got some quibbles, and even on the mic, I think that only over the past year has she really come into her own. But I feel like she deserved it. And this is, like I said, this is coming from somebody who's not the biggest Charlotte Flair fan. But I think she's been eating a lot of shit over the last year. I think she hasn't been given much to work with since she was tag champs. I really... Well, wait, no. She never even had the tag team championship, did she? So she hasn't done anything since WrestleMania last year. That can't be right. I wish I had... Again, a little more research would have been nice, but I'm tired, you guys. But overall, over the past year, Charlotte has not been used very well, and I think it's high time she gets something to sink her teeth into. Now, does that mean I want to see Charlotte versus Becky? No, it does not. Does that mean I want to see Charlotte versus Bayley? Preferable, but still not my optimal choice. And once again, going to online, and I hate regurgitating things that I've read online, but it does seem like a great idea that she would challenge Rhea Ripley for the NXT title. It would just be cool. I'd like to see that match. Another funny idea, what if she challenges Andrade for the U.S. title? There's all kinds of interesting things they could do with Charlotte, and I think she deserves it at this point. I think she's been spinning her wheels long enough. So that was A-okay with me. As far as the rest of the event goes, Daniel Bryan and The Fiend had a great match. I thought it was an awesome strap match. Easily the best match The Fiend has had. early on in the show, if you missed Chad Gable, who I will not refer to as Shorty G because it's asinine, if you missed Chad Gable versus Sheamus, go back and check that out. That was a really good, entertaining match. I don't quite understand why they have Sheamus doing this as his big return, but whatever. Let's see, Andrade versus Humberto was good, but I felt the Raw match was actually a little bit better. Let's see. Overall, the event was good. Bayley versus Lacey was, I don't know if it's right to call it a letdown because I don't feel like those two have really been clicking in the ring. As much as their promo stuff has been good and their extracurricular shenanigans have been entertaining, in the ring, I don't know. And it's partly, I think, because Bayley is taken to being a heel really well. I think Lacey is getting used to being a babyface. I think that's part of it. What else do we have? I don't know. I'm exhausted. I'm tired, and I think that's probably as much as I've got right now. If you missed the Rumble, go back and check it out. Both of the Rumbles are worth watching. Most of the matches were worth watching. We had a really, really fun time watching this one. And I am excited for Elimination Chamber. March 8th, I think it is. I might be working, so I don't know that I'll see it live. And then, of course, WrestleMania is WrestleMania. And this year, we have no idea really what's going to happen, aside from we know Lesnar versus McIntyre is happening, because McIntyre came out on Raw and said, that's what I'm doing. That's my shit. And, man, that's a hot match, which is crazy because I, up until recently, was never a fan of Drew McIntyre, often referring to him as Drew Make You Tired. I found him boring. I never cared for his characters. The Scottish Psychopath just didn't seem to sit well with me, but an acquaintance that works in the wrestling business had always told me, man, you got to see him work as Drew Galloway. He's a completely different person. He's compelling. He's got a lot of energy. He's great. And I just never believed it. And then he came back to WWE, and while in ring he seemed more solid, I still just didn't see any character there. He was doing nothing for me. And this turnaround that he's had over the past month or so, where they're letting him show his personality, they're letting him have some humor and this cockiness and something that's different from this Scottish Psychopath bullshit that they pushed on him before. I really like this guy now, and I can see where that guy was right about Drew Galloway really being something special and developing his character when he was working the independents. So I'm stoked about this match. I'm stoked that this guy has found himself and is getting this opportunity. And there you go. So that's right now, that's my personal state of wrestling. I still need to watch Wednesday's NXT. I haven't had the opportunity to because I've been working. But I'm very excited about Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. And also about the finals of the Dusty tournament. So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to watch that right now while you guys listen to me, Mike Gordon, and Arian Gulick just talking about the state of wrestling today. Enjoy. I'm here in, what did I call your...
The negative zone?
The negative zone, but I think last time the Cabana of Eternal Despair or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't remember. We're here with Arian, who is hosting us. And Mr. Mike Gordon 2 weeks in a row.
Howdy, yes. Amazing. 2020 is off to a great start.
I know, right? I feel like we were a little light on Gordon last year. And
I wasn't.
The listener...
I was not.
So we've just gotten back here after watching NWA Power TV tapings.
We're going to spoil the next 3 weeks.
Hosted by the inimitable David Marquez, and I guess sponsored by the surreal William Patrick Corgan.
Yes, the great pumpkin himself.
Yeah, right. Which for me, it was great. It was very entertaining. I recommend everybody check out NWA Power.
You can watch it for free on the YouTubes
every Tuesday at 6:05.
That's right.
6:05 live. But it was all very entertaining. It was great. We saw a lot of good wrestling, a lot of good entertainment. But the moment of Billy Corgan walking out and thanking us, talking about wrestling, and just genuinely being obviously passionate about the product that he was presenting was so weird.
Yeah. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, you compare that to, we were at Starrcade, a month or so ago? And they couldn't have really cared. They put on a good show,
right?
But it's not like Vince or anybody else came out and said, instead when it was over, they were just like, go away.
Well, they put on a good show except for Seth Rollins and Eric. I don't think they put on a good show. But we're not going to do a recap of Power. We will talk about NWA and the product they've got right now a little bit, because what we are going to talk about tonight is the state of wrestling. Now, we've got a little something to sort of jump around because the Royal Rumble is tomorrow.
It is.
We are not going
5 days after, 5 days previous when you guys are hearing this.
That's why we're not going to talk about it too much.
My personal prediction is that outlandish Zicky Dice is going to win the Rumble. And he's going to win the Men's Rumble. And I don't know who's going to win the Women's Rumble.
I'm going to... It's not...
I think WWE also doesn't know who's going to win the Women's Rumble.
I'm not going to name any names, but I think you'll know who I'm talking about. I think there's one lady in particular that's definitely not going to win the Women's Rumble. That maybe botched a couple of moves tonight. I'm going to take out right now my outlandish Zicky Dice sunglasses that I just purchased and put them on. And fellas,
you're seeing life.
I feel pretty outlandish.
Outlandish.
But we're going to have a conversation about the state of wrestling right now. We're not going to get into specifics about
the wrestling that we're watching and enjoying.
Well, yes, which brings us to our first point of order. That now Mike, I'm actually not sure where you're at on that, but I'm not watching AEW.
I don't have access to it because I don't have cable, and I could probably ask somebody for a password for a log on to watch it on TNT's website.
Sure.
But I watched the first episode. I've kept up with the news of it. I read recaps whenever I read about or hear about something that sounds particularly interesting, usually involving Chris Jericho. I'll watch that. I like to watch MJF promos.
MJF is great. He was my favorite part of what I watched the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. After his heel turn, he's been incredible. Chef's Kiss. Overall, the product really just doesn't grab me. I'll be honest and say that some aspects of it I find really weirdly and poorly booked, mostly the women's division. I think that's a fair criticism.
Sure. But we're not going to talk too much about it because we don't watch it. Mike, have you been watching it all?
No. I've been interested and supportive. I was really excited at the beginning, not only because I'm a Jericho fan, but just because I thought, here's a chance where, we're going to get a new product. They're going to do new things. They made a point to say, matches are going to, wins and losses are going to count. And I thought we were going to get a product that was going to be a step that was different, moving the business forward. When I saw that first episode, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I thought you guys were giving us something different. Instead, they were giving us something that they were missing, which was WCW. They were giving us old school WCW, and I was not... I mean, I like WCW, but that's not what I was kind of hoping that it would be.
Well, it's old school WCW without the big stars.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's... I mean, look, I mean, it's got some big names in it. I mean, big names of today.
Well, we're already getting into territory I didn't want to get into too deeply, because like I said, none of us are watching the product. I don't want to sit here and trash AEW, because it doesn't deserve it. It's something that I feel is great at what it's doing, but it just so happens that none of us are particularly interested in what it's doing.
I don't know if it's great at what it's doing, though. That's the thing. I've watched. I mean, sure, they're getting ratings. They've already announced they're going to do a second show now, weekly.
Which
I know, right?
Boy,
exactly. But I think so many people are unhappy with WWE that they're like, when I hear chants of AEW, it's more like.
We don't want this.
They're not saying we love AEW. They're saying we don't love WWE. Right. We don't love that product. And I think that's what it's doing. It's giving people an alternative. I don't think it's necessarily a great alternative because, look, there's some great folks in there. And like I said, I watch like occasionally, and I love Jericho. I love what the Lucha Brothers are doing. This is the first time I've got a chance to watch Kenny Omega, who... Now that I've seen him in the ring, I now know why he's like considered one of the best in the business, and so there's and what Cody's doing and all that is fantastic, but you know they brought back some old announcers, some old like pyrotechnic skills, like it just seems like it's a repackaged product to me.
It's like tonight when David Marquez mentioned the Royal Rumble tomorrow. And people started booing. And I was like, hey, shut the fuck up, you marks. You're going to watch it. Yeah. Don't be ridiculous.
Is it?
And that's what it is. It's that, like, hey, WWE sucks. Yeah. And yeah, WWE sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
But overall, they're still responsible for, you know, pretty entertaining product that we keep watching. So there's something there.
Except when Bobby Lashley is on the screen. And then I don't watch.
Fair. Or as Mike calls him, Booby Lashley.
Yeah. No, I just call him that reason to hit the fast forward button.
Channel flipper. So, what I want to start with you guys is, where did your wrestling fandom start?
Probably the same place yours did when I was pretty young. Growing up in the South, watching old NWA on Channel 17, and especially Saturdays, watching that big long block of programming, like on Channel 69.
Yeah.
I remember watching old actual Glow matches.
Yeah, right.
Like in the mid to early 80s. So. Yeah, it was, you know, it's just something you kind of grow up with it in the South, and like I've got a complicated relationship with the South.
Sure, of course.
But it's something that stuck with me. My dad took me to see a battle royal at it might have actually been Center Stage, but like Magnum TA won it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was back around that time, like the mid-'80s.
I never got to see any wrestling live because my parents were mostly against me watching it at all.
Yeah.
But same deal, the late night Saturday show. Like, my Saturday nights were huge because it was Saturday Night Live, Doctor Who, and then wrestling like until early in the morning. But I remember the moment that it became something bigger to me than just something I watched on TV was when, and I've told this story before, but it was when King Kong Bundy attacked Hulk Hogan after a match. It was Don Morocco and Bob Orton. I was getting ready to say Randy Orton Sr.
Same thing.
And it was horrifying. I thought the Hulkster's like back was broken or something, and that was it got me. And I didn't even necessarily, like, I loved Hulk Hogan as a pop culture icon, but I didn't necessarily, wrestling-wise, you know what I mean?
I had a similar, like, mark-out moment when, after a Clash of Champions, when it was the one where Flair had just defended against Ricky Steamboat, and he'd beaten Ricky Steamboat, and, Terry Funk showed up as an interviewer.
Oh, yeah.
And interviewed him. This is when they turned Flair face.
Right.
And Terry Funk, he's like, so what you got going next, champ? And I didn't really know who Terry Funk was, but I knew who Ric Flair was.
As far as you knew, he was just an interviewer.
Yeah, and Flair's like, I don't know who's next on the horizon for me. And Terry Funk's like, how about you give the old Funker a shot? And he's like, listen, man, you haven't really been around lately. I don't know that you really necessarily can cut to the front of the line. And Terry Funk just beat the dog shit out of him. Kayfabe injured his neck to where Flair showed up in like a neck brace over the next several months of WCW programming. And obviously, at that point in time, I'm like 8 or 9. I believed it. I was like, holy shit.
That's what I thought Hogan was legit.
Because that's now that's I must say that's not a thing that I experienced growing up because I didn't get involved with pro wrestling until much, much later. So by the time I was involved with it, which is only about 20, 25 years ago, I knew going in it was not it was just performance, it was entertainment, right? But you guys were hook, line, and sinker into the kayfabe.
Oh, 100%. When I was a kid.
Because that doesn't even happen now. Can you imagine, kids don't... I mean, we heard a lot of kids screaming, and they're into it and everything when we're at these events, but I don't think they really...
I think some do.
Maybe.
I think so. I think, because if you can remember, now, Mike, I know this is more of a stretch for you than it is for me and Arian, but if you can remember being a kid... important details slip past you. When I've watched movies with Phantom Jr. That I watched when I was a kid, and I'll something like The Goonies.
Yeah.
That in my mind was a kid's movie, but then it turns out they say shit and queer every 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horribly inappropriate. But as a kid, it just kind of went past me. So I think you've probably got until 8 or 9, 10 years old, probably, where kids aren't really questioning it. They aren't...
you just kind of see it, experience it, and take it at face value.
They're not following Braun Strowman on Twitter to see him hanging out with his opponent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think that's still there for younger kids. I don't know. It wasn't for Phantom Jr., it wasn't, because I had to explain to him very early on that he came to see me do announcing at one of the Six Flags shows. Mm-hmm. 7 years ago now, I guess?
It was in an MCW show?
Yeah. And they had Leatherface, a guy dressed as Leatherface, and I had to explain to him, I was like, this is all fixed. Because he had... once he found out Leatherface was fake, he had some questions about some other stuff, and we had the talk. We had the wrestling talk.
Yeah.
Because I can remember, maybe it's because I grew up in the Northeast, although I can't use that as a sole excuse, because I know a lot of my friends, I know a lot of people who grew up in, the Northeast that love wrestling. Certainly, New Yorkers, although I was in... Massachusetts. So, but it was, I don't think I think you need a family member to care about it. And my dad didn't really, he was into real sports, quote unquote.
Yeah. And
I don't think he saw any value in pro wrestling. So, but it was hard to just completely ignore it because, when it was WrestleMania 3, when the Hulk and Andre thing.
Yeah.
You can't, everybody...
That was hard to ignore.
Everybody in the country knew about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I knew it was, if it was scripted or not. And certainly, of course, as you mentioned the Goonies, but, that whole wave of rock and wrestling that came through. I mean,
Yes.
you couldn't ignore that.
That's
And,
funny, the Cyndi Lauper connection there, yeah.
The whole like music video with them, and the whole like Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou Albano and Hulkster and Roddy Piper, and I think that's why I've always really admired like Piper as well, just because I've always, and it was a shock to me that he like never was like the WWE champion ever. When I found that out later, because I was like, but he was like the main bad guy. And they're like, nope, he was not really.
He wasn't. Yeah, and it's funny how he was one of the highest profile guys.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really wasn't even a major foil necessarily, like he was on the cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all I really knew of that. So, and then fast forward to many, many years ago, it's sort of the tail end of the Attitude Era. And I'm flipping around the channels and I'm watching like The Rock and Goldust and Triple H and Jericho, and I'm like, this is pretty awesome. And then I'm hooked. And that got me hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. So I've been hooked more, and I watched the tail end of the WCW years. I was involved with the Monday Night Wars to a bit, but I never had a lot of history with like what you call the big guys in WCW. I always liked the first couple hours or the first hour or so where they're, you got your cruiserweights and your Eddie Guerreros, and I mean that's why for me,
Man of 1,004 Holds, Chris,
exactly.
Chris Jericho.
Dean Malenko and the Radicals and all that stuff like that. Man, I just ate that stuff up. So that was what the draw was for me.
That's about when I came back into it, because I watched while I was a kid. Once I got into high school, I kind of drifted away, and then
Same here.
I had a buddy, James, who's a filmmaker now. Well, he makes music and everything. But anyway, James at the time was kind of mentoring the band that I was in, and he was huge into wrestling and convinced me to start watching WCW, and this was right before the big Hogan turn. So this was 96.
Mm-hmm.
So we started watching, and it was fun. It took some adjusting to get, because by that point I knew what the deal was.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to get into it, and then that Bash at the Beach was bonkers.
Yeah.
Like, watching that.
I got back into it post-turn.
Yeah,
So like
once
the NWO was actually already a thing.
But that's what happened, is that and then Austin is what made it so big in 97 to probably about 2002, I would say.
Yeah.
Is of our lifetimes the
high water
biggest
mark.
it's been, because even 80s WWF, as much as we love it and as big as it was in pop culture, I don't think only because there wasn't as much entertainment out there was Hulk Hogan as big as he is. I mean, he's the biggest name ever in wrestling, but you had Austin and Rock at the same time, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then WCW, just that war, there was nothing like it, and there never will be again.
No,
because nobody's.
Not enough people.
I hope there will always be multiple wrestling companies out there putting shows on.
It's better for the people who work in the industry for it to be that way.
100%.
It's better for fans to have options. Like,
right.
I don't necessarily enjoy AEW, but like I'm not going to tell you shouldn't.
No,
like I would appreciate it if you shut the hell up about NWA to me, because I'll fight you.
I want
AEW
I want AEW to succeed. I want it to flourish. I want it to get to the point where it is offering something that I'm interested in watching.
That would be nice.
But WWE is untouchable. It's never going away. Nobody's ever going to beat WWE.
No,
that's 100% impossible.
I don't believe that there's anybody out there that's too big to fail.
I think WWE is too big to fail.
Because I do think that, and all it takes is, a couple of bad steps, and they could be in a position that they don't want to be in. But I will admit that it's unlikely. I mean, the machine that they've got is it's almost like Disney. You know, it's like
Right.
the machine that they've got is like it would take a lot of mistakes in order for it to fall.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't see that it. But I mean, you know, it only offers it offers certain things, and unfortunately, it should. I think we get frustrated because it should offer more.
I think it offers a lot more than we generally give it credit for when we're just having a conversation about WWE. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Right now, I want to talk about what you look for from wrestling. And you can be as specific or as general as you want, but I'll say this. Obviously, I want to be entertained. I think that we don't even need to say that. But when I'm watching a wrestling match, I want to believe that these two people are trying to beat each other.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not interested in acrobatic exhibitions in the way that a lot of people are. And there's a place for that. But the matches that I love are the matches where it looks like two people are fighting. Where there's very little standing around waiting for somebody to get into position. Where you get caught up in the action and you don't know, oh, he's standing that way because he's getting ready to do a Hurricane Rana, or he's like, you lose track. And I like punches and kicks. I'd rather see a well-thrown punch than a dive from the top turnbuckle to the floor, no matter how many spins.
I mean, I think I'm largely the same way. I'll just say that certain people can do certain things, and it's like I would rather see Ricochet do crazy flippy shit than throw punches and kicks.
Well, and Ricochet is one of the rare guys that can do a lot of flippity stuff.
He can do both.
Yeah.
And make it look convincing.
Sure. Yeah.
It makes sense in the context of what he's doing. And I'll just say, I want to see that, but I also want to see. I don't just want to see it because they're the two people that happen to be told to get out there and fight. I want there to be
a reason.
Motivation. And like, this is one of the things that, like, one of the notes that I said, for me, there's two good things that make a good wrestling promotion, which, personally, my two favorite promotions right now are domestic NXT. NXT UK is pretty good, but it's also its own weird little thing, and I don't keep up with it too well, but NXT and NWA are my two favorite promotions going right now.
I'm with you on that.
And the reasons, thinking about it,
Moxie's favorite promotion is Mike Gordon.
Yes, she's like, dude, you're not petting me. Are the keep it simple, stupid principle and making titles matter. I feel like NWA has gotten away with this because they just started. So what they had to work with was, we're just starting, here's your introduction to all these characters. Also, here are the titles. This is what everybody's here for, is to try and get these.
Yeah.
Which makes complete and total sense. And, like, I feel like a lot of it, I'm trying not to, like, be overly negative about things that I don't like. I'm trying to, like, keep it positive, which is difficult for me.
We appreciate that.
As my dog's making out with Dave.
It's just the chicken nuggets, man.
Yeah. So I feel like WWE, like, could benefit more from, like, just trying to keep shit simple and making things more about the titles than they do these days. Because, like, let me ask you, when was the last time, or even, when did Shinsuke Nakamura win the Intercontinental title? Who did he beat for it? When was the last time?
Did he beat Bobby Roode?
No.
It's a good question.
Yeah. I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
When was the last time he defended it?
Although, To be fair to WWE, even if they had presented a compelling scenario there, I wouldn't necessarily remember it because, man, I don't remember things like that like I used to.
Sure. But, like, my point is, they don't do a good job of making it compelling.
No, very often when somebody wins a secondary title, they disappear from television for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's insane. We're fortunate that
not
Nakamura's
only,
still on TV.
And not only is it insane in general for it to be that way, but it's especially insane when on both your shows you kind of have absentee main champions. Like, Brock's not there all the time, and like the Fiend's kind of there, but he's also kind of not there.
Well,
he's in this weird limbo state.
Yeah, I can't agree with that because I mean Bray's on every single show.
Yep.
He typically has the biggest segment on every single show. And look, if we want WWE to do different and more interesting things, that's 100% what Bray and the Fiend are. So I mean, I can't criticize that.
And the fact that, like, story-wise, it's amazing that everybody he's faced has changed and turned heel.
Yes.
Like, in a way that I'm like, wow.
Or
like
turned from heel to face.
Well, right. I mean, he's changed them. It's
right.
It's
and yeah, so he's like, they've really done more with him and that character and that championship than they have done in a long time with anybody.
Yeah.
I wish his matches were better.
Well, sure.
And I also wish that they ditched the red lighting.
I like
complaints.
I like the red lighting.
Me too.
I think it's different. I think it's cool. I think it goes along with his character and being weird and disorienting. But I agree with you about his matches.
Other than like the second Seth Rollins
great.
match had some interesting spots to it, but like overall, it was like his matches are just kind of boring squashes.
Yeah,
and they're not even really squashes. It's he gets the ever-living dog shit kicked out of him, sits up, and puts the mandible claw on you, and you die.
It's what they used to do with Cena, and it's before that what they did with Hogan. I mean, it's almost this weird reverse super babyface kind of thing.
But so anyway, like the two things that I really
good job not complaining.
Yeah, the two things that I really enjoy are keeping things simple and about titles, and I feel like when you do that, it's just easier to book a wrestling show. Now, I like some people. NXT like is great at what they do, but what they do is kind of one-notish. Like it's just here's a bunch of awesome wrestling, and it's all in the context of wrestling, and there's like. You're not going to have, like, at least not in the past, like, year and a half-ish or so. Not since the, like, Velveteen Dream, Aleister Black, Say My Name thing. I don't think there's been, like, a big story that isn't just about, hey, I'm awesome at wrestling. No, I'm more awesome at wrestling than you.
I don't agree with that, because we were just talking about Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, and how compelling that story is. And I think on top of that, we get a degree of character work in NXT that we haven't seen for a long time.
They do a great job of developing characters and making you care about them, but it's usually in context of, I want to be the best wrestler. No, I'm going to be the best wrestler. I'm going to beat you up over it. And like the Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai thing, you're correct, is not that, but for the most part, it's I'm going to be better. I want to be the very best.
Well, so what you're saying is...
Let's keep it simple.
What you're saying is you wish there were more wedding angles in NXT.
No.
He's not saying that.
I'm not saying that at all. No.
It sounds to me like that's what you're saying.
I'm saying that if you wanted to make a criticism of NXT, that would be one that I would potentially agree with.
You're not wrong, but that's like kind of what I like about NXT. You're making the picture blurry. Stop moving. There you go. I like that it's about it. You know, they're doing what AEW said that they were going to do. It's about the titles. It's about athletic competition.
Yeah.
but they do have just enough of that sauce that it's not just like an amateur wrestling show.
Right.
I feel they've maintained a very good balance of that. I'm very satisfied. Speaking of character work, I want to know these characters. I want them to get the opportunity to show me who they are, and rather than have a writer make who they are.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I wish, like, full stop, WWE would steal from NWA is, like, the promo style where people
my gosh, I know.
Walk up and say shit.
Well, and, we had for a brief time that SmackDown post show where Miz cut the promo of his career on Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was so
then
great.
It went away.
That was so great because it gave all. That's where I grew to be a fan of Baron Corbin, because he would go out there he took advantage of that. He went out there every single episode and worked on his speaking skills, worked on his character, and that's why I'm down with that guy, because he had the opportunity to show me
I've come
who
around
he
on
is.
him since he stopped dressing like a waiter. That's just me hating waiters.
But
I don't hate waiters.
They need to give these guys more opportunity. These guys and women, like what Asuka and Kairi Sane have been doing lately. They're just weirdness and craziness. Nobody's writing that down for them.
No.
They're doing their own weird thing, and it's the most compelling thing WWE's doing right now. Becky Lynch cut the best promo she's cut in a while.
Yeah.
After Asuka spit the green mist in her eyes.
Yeah.
That was very real. That felt like Becky Lynch talking. It didn't feel like somebody handed her words.
Right.
And I want more of that. Because you can tell.
Even Drew McIntyre showing a little.
Oh my gosh, McIntyre! I'm on Team McIntyre now. Since they've been letting him sort of have some humor and stop doing. And I read an interview with him where he said,
I read that one too.
I'm not really a Scottish psychopath, but now I'm kind of getting to do more, Drew Galloway, who I am. That's great, man. That's what I want. I want to let these people get by. Tell them, here's what you need to talk about. Obviously, you have to do that. You have a show to run. You have a format you have to get across. But let them do it in their way, because you can tell, and it's the same thing as with the wrestling. You can tell when it's organic. You can tell when, tonight, Eddie Kingston.
He's like
I think he thinks it's real.
No, he should be teaching promo classes.
Yes, he should. He is electric. Like, every time he has a mic, it's just like
what the fuck's going to happen?
Right.
And when he first went out there, because his body language is like, nah, it's cool, but then he just flipped the switch.
Yes.
He's like, I will fucking kill you. And I'm just like, I believe amazing. That guy will fucking kill somebody.
I should gouge your eyes out of your head.
Yeah.
I think he might gouge his eyes out of his head. Meanwhile, Pope's selling it.
Yeah, Pope's like,
great.
Yeah.
But, those two guys are great. If they go into a long-term program, that's just gold.
Well, and I like that they right now, they're sort of managing the teams to
to set it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I want
compelling characters fake fighting for reasons, not just because this is who you're booked against this week.
Right. Which, don't get me wrong, there's also a place for this is who you're booked against, because sometimes you need to have matches just for the sake of having matches, and I don't mind that, but I do like a feeling, oh man, I owe everybody a beer because I didn't turn my phone off.
Sadness.
Because that, when you have something like a Survivor Series, where people who don't like each other have to work together, you do need to maintain a sense that this is your job, and to a certain extent, you got to do what you got to do. So sometimes, yes, you go out and you just have a match because you have a match, and the reason the finish may be planned.
Yeah.
But wrestling, to me, is still a competitive sport, because every single one of them is going out there to look the best.
Right.
To have, not necessarily to have the best match on the card, but they want you to remember them more.
Right. And you can just even with the guys tonight, like you can tell for the ones who appreciate what the crowd gives back to them.
Matt Cross. You could tell he was 100% invested in what he was doing.
Yeah, and he loved getting any reaction from the crowd. Like
not as much as Rock and Roll Express loved it.
No, but I mean,
or begged for it.
With Ricky Morton literally hanging out of the ropes, going, "Come on, rock and roll, rock and roll."
Right, but I mean, you know, they're having.
They're 930 years old. They can get away with it.
They're having their fifth wind now.
Yes,
so it's fine. But yeah, like I want. Like, if they don't believe in what they're doing, I'm not going to believe in what they're doing.
And like, you can tell when they're just out there
getting a paycheck.
Right. Mike, what do you look for from your wrestling entertainment?
Well, when I got attracted and invested in WWE in particular, but during the Monday Night Wars, it was apparent to me that they knew, like, every wrestler on the roster had a story, you could tell, like, what they were about when they came out. Now, granted, they had, like, multiple shows to do that, you know.
They had Heat and SmackDown.
Right. So, but I mean...
Shotgun Saturday Night.
So there was, but, like, every time someone came out, like, you kind of knew if they were heel or face or what their deal was and what their moves were.
Here's Val Venus. I wonder what his deal is.
I mean, but
I feel like people looked a little more distinctive back then, too.
Yeah.
Like, now, everybody's got a beard and dark trunks.
Yeah, and I don't think they do enough of a good job of, like,
They need some outlandish
telling
people,
us
yes, they do.
who each character is, and what they're all about.
Yeah,
and that doesn't take much, but yet they still. And with the
for the ones who go
social
to
media now, you'd think it would be easy to do that because they have platforms. They don't need to, like, spend a lot of time on Raw, even though they have 3 hours. They don't need to spend a lot of time on Raw to do it. If they don't want to, they can go just have, like, a few tweets or whatever.
Here's a perfect example to me is, like, and for the record, like, I love War Machine / War Raiders / the Viking Raiders experience, whatever you're calling them. Those guys are great. But, like, at the end of the day, they're just, like, a couple bruiser dudes.
Yeah.
Who cosplay.
I can't even tell you what their names are.
Eric and Ivar.
These guys,
Thank you.
yes.
I don't know which is which.
Hanson and Rowe.
Do you know which is which?
No,
you don't. Okay.
I know. I knew which one was Hanson and which one was Rowe before they fucked it up. But, like,
I know one of them's very
anyway, so up until recently, those guys were ostensibly a big deal because, like, they'd come out and just beat the shit out of everybody that they got put in the ring with.
But they were beating the shit out of them in matches, and they were beating the shit out of people you knew.
Right.
Now they're doing 2-minute squashes against nobodies, and it means nothing.
Right. But so my point is, like, those guys were put in a position by the company to be over, and, like, and this is not a knock against them, but they're kind of boring.
I agree.
Whereas, like, you have someone like, and, like, for those who don't know, I am a huge fucking Tyler Breeze mark. I will admit it. I love me some Prince Pretty. He is fucking incredible. Like, he went to the trouble of developing, like, a hilarious, believable. Like, it's hard to come up with a funny wrestling character who still can put on compelling matches and be like, I'm good at this.
Right.
And, like, for me anyway, it worked. But, like, WWE, they just never fucking tried to do anything with him. And, like, it just boggles my mind. Like, he's, like, dude's talented as shit. His character's funny. It was interesting. Like, the Fashion Files thing he and Dango were doing for a while there was, like, over his shit. But, like, they just never put the belts on him. They never fucking took the next step with him.
Well...
And I feel like they're really hesitant to pull the trigger. Like, remember 2 years ago how over Braun Strowman was?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they've done with him.
Well, I mean,
jack shit.
The worst has happened.
Like
he starts like a couple weeks ago. He went out there and danced.
Yeah, he's dancing Braun
Which
Strowman
for the listeners, those of you who don't know, I the only reason I feel this way is because I've heard so many wrestlers say it over time, but specifically,
don't ever let Vince see you
Don
dance.
Callis said, "Don't if you're a big man, don't ever let Vince see you dance."
And
that's what happened to Kurgan. Yeah. He said, "Don't let him see you dance," and that's anytime there's a big guy. Because it was Lars Sullivan was the last one I called it on. Which, granted, he never even got the opportunity to dance, and probably never will. But I was like, I'm telling you right now, he's going to get called up, and within 6 weeks, he'll be dancing Lars Sullivan.
I kind of want Keith Lee to get called up to the main roster.
Oh, jeez, just don't dance, Keith Lee.
But like at the same time, like I feel like he's so personable and so wants to please that like he'd be doomed. Like he would be doomed. Like stay in NXT forever, Keith. Like towards the end of last year, like I think I messaged Dave. I'm like, it's really weird to see Keith Lee and Rhea Ripley like so over. This is right after Survivor Series because I love the shit out of both of them. And I'm like, good things don't happen to people I like. So I'm nervous for the both of them.
Yeah, I experienced that for the first time last year when they called up Aleister Black and they called up Ricochet and they called up
EC3,
Lacey Evans, and they called up
EC3. Come on, nobody cares.
I wasn't worried about EC3.
No.
And that Lars Sullivan was part of that as well. And I thought, because that was the first kind of class of NXT that I got really invested in.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing about all these people who were, NXT fans that had their guys get called out. And to see nothing happen with them. And so I was really defensive of them when they were on the main roster. And man, I'll tell you what, when they first called up Black and Ricochet, they used the shit out of them.
Yeah.
They were on every other show.
Well, I mean, they still are, really. Well, Black went a long time where he didn't do anything.
That was before the brand split, so they were always on. They had a match on Raw, they had a match on SmackDown, they had a match on NXT. They were wrestling 4 times a week.
They were working an Adam Cole schedule.
But NXT does a very good job, I think, of helping define the characters.
Yes.
So that so by the time they come up, they're unless they make changes to them, then they should be kind of good to go. The other thing I want to see, and I've noticed this with NXT in particular, and with 2 years ago with the women's quote-unquote evolution, you could tell that with the NXT folks, because they were, wrestling to get called up, and you could tell with the women that they were putting it all on the line.
Yes.
Every time they went out there, there was never just a match. They knew that these were opportunities.
Yeah.
And they knew the people involved would give it everything. And sometimes they weren't the most best choreographed matches, sometimes there were botches or whatever, but the intensity level was there. Yeah. And I don't, if it's a sloppy match, I'm okay with that as long as the intensity is there. That's why I like Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch isn't one of the best, well choreographed, smoothest wrestlers around, but she's got that intensity that when she's put together with a great opponent, that it just makes for a memorable match.
That's why I've always felt like that Austin comparison's pretty accurate, because she's got the meat and potatoes. She's not flashy, but when she goes out there, you believe it.
Yeah. So I want to see that kind of intensity. Unfortunately, too often, as much as I liked people on the main roster, they would just be in matches that, they would just be 1, 2, 3, do their move. 1, 2, 3, do this move. 1, 2, 3.
I like to call it the Randy Orton special.
Yeah, although, look, Randy's been amazing.
Randy's been on fire.
Putting him in a program with AJ has been great for the both of them.
Never been a fan of. Well, I think it goes before that. When he was wrestling Jeff Hardy, that's when all of a sudden I thought, Randy's is he cool? Like, I'm like, he's kind of cool.
He was into it. You could tell he was into the program.
Yeah, and then I don't remember who he wrestled after that.
He's definitely having a late career renaissance, but like for years, it's just like a Randy Orton match to me is like it's like empty calories. It's like
it was. You're right. You're not wrong.
He's like the Corona of wrestlers.
There were times when, when that, a few years ago when he was out there and Jericho returned and said he was there to save us from Randy Orton. He was there, he was back to save, and I was like, yes, you are. Like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
But even Randy stepped up. Like, last year at WrestleMania, it was Orton and AJ, right? Mm-hmm. And this year, it's probably going to be the same thing. And I'm like,
I'm okay with that.
Last year, I didn't give a crap. This year, I'm like, I'm actually happy that that's a thing.
But I do hope they can kind of figure out a little something to do with the OC. Because I feel like they're really over. I feel like they're doing great work, but they're just kind of...
It would be great if there was a division for teams, specifically.
If only
there
were such a thing. I got a few other things I want to cover. No second Evolution event. Evolution should 100% be an annual event.
I agree.
And I think it's
especially since you have a male-oriented Saudi Arabia event every year.
And like twice a year. And like, I feel like since Ronda's left, the focus on the women's division on the main roster has been shit.
Has been weak, yeah.
You're not wrong.
And I feel like it might not be such a big deal if the women's division in NXT wasn't so fucking good.
Right. And we can see that that's one of the things about NXT.
I'm not going to rag on any of the women that are on the main roster, though.
It's not the women.
It's the booking. It's the way they're being used.
Like, we got a tag team division. We got a tag team, but they don't do much with... Well, I can't... The current champions...
Right now, the program is so good.
The current champions are amazing, but they've got no one to... Right. Even though there's like 3 other teams.
Well, here's what drives me crazy, is the Iconics were the tag champs, and their character work is so good. They're both very good in the ring.
They're both competent.
But they're... I disagree. I'd give them way more than competent.
I disagree completely.
I don't agree with that at all.
We are on opposite sides on that battle, my friend.
They were great for the division, but they didn't do anything with them.
I don't miss them. I don't miss them at all. But that said, it's to the point that Becky made when she became champion. She's like, look at all the women that were champions, and they didn't do anything to elevate this title.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've elevated the title. Now, unfortunately, it's one of those situations where once you get the title, then it's kind of like, what do you do?
Well, she's only as good as her competition.
Exactly.
Right? And they haven't... It's not that she doesn't have competition.
And you can't keep having her face Charlotte.
Right, exactly. And I feel bad for Charlotte right now because she should be doing...
Yeah, what is Charlotte?
Bigger things.
This is like kind of inside baseball-y, but like if you look at it over the last couple of years, it's true. Like, they don't want to split up wrestlers who are couples. And Charlotte and Andrade are obviously a couple, but they're in this weird, like handcuff situation almost, because Andrade's mouthpiece / manager is married to Aleister Black. So, like, all 4 of them basically have to be on the same show.
That doesn't mean they can't.
That's fine. That doesn't mean that they can't. Like 2 weeks ago, they started a great storyline with Charlotte and Sarah Logan, but then they did nothing with it.
Right, and that's the thing. My 2 weeks in a row, those two
were fighting like cats and dogs.
Really good matches, and then the second week, Sarah Logan just lost, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm like, why?
My second point is like, Becky and Charlotte shouldn't be on the same show. Not for a while.
I don't see. The thing is, you've got 4 horsewomen, right? what they consider the Four Horsemen. Which
Sure.
are Sasha, because
Bailey.
we weren't even talking about Becky Lynch 2 years ago. It was all about Sasha.
Speak for yourself, Mike Gordon.
Yeah.
No, I was. But nobody... But, I mean, Sasha was the big draw. Like, Sasha and Charlotte, right? And then... But it's always
That's funny, because to me, Becky and Bailey have been... They're my far superior picks out of those four.
They... Look, all four of them are probably the best in the business, right? You could argue, but let's put them, like, just set them there.
When Sasha's a heel...
Yes.
Which she is now. So, but the way they mix them up and the way that they just don't know what to do with them, and they can't keep facing each other, so they've got to raise the other women up, right? And they just don't.
I don't know, like, what
there's
their
a big
deal
space
is,
bar
but, like,
between
SmackDown
them.
is such a mess in general. But,
I mean,
like,
Asuka was there,
women's
but not
division,
there.
The women's division on SmackDown is so, like... And like this, I don't want to like just spend all of this bitching about WWE, but like specifically, one thing that annoys the ever living dog shit out of me about WWE is just them saying, "Okay, this is the way this is going to be now, so you just have to accept it," and not putting in the work to make me believe.
Right, like Lacey Evans' recent face turn.
Right.
Yeah,
They'll
like,
tell us
For
things
no
but then-
reason.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, the woman whose entire gimmick has been telling everyone,
snotty superior.
yeah, like
Yeah, you're nasty.
Right.
like I'm supposed to believe she's Liberty Bell. Well, like yes, she actually is Liberty Bell. Like she was a Marine. She's all this shit. Great, but like, do a slow shift and change of her character. Don't just like.
But I will say it's done, and Bailey and Sasha and Lacey Evans are doing great with it.
Yeah,
it's
and
turned
you
into
might
a good
rag
angle.
on SmackDown, but I think their women's division, at least all of them are on TV. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got Sasha, Bailey, and Lacey in a program, and then you've got Fire and Desire and
Carmella.
and Dana Brooke.
But I mean, you've got Mandy Rose and what's her name?
Otis.
And then you've got you've got Bliss and Cross, and I think like they're on TV like all the time, and I'm always entertained by everything that they're doing because they're always great.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't say that for Raw. Like you take away.
Well, now wait just a minute.
Which is nuts because Raw's 3 hours
The
long.
biggest storyline on Raw features the ravishing Russian Lana.
No, it doesn't.
She gets plenty of television time.
No, too much.
All right. We gotta. Let's talk about some good things.
Yes.
For instance, Seth Rollins. Speaking of characters, now has a character.
The
He is
Monday Night Messiah. I love the Monday Night Messiah.
Fantastic heel turn.
Yeah.
And
they're actually doing shit to elevate other people.
And
like,
the storytelling with Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black was that series of matches was amazing, and the fact that all along they had a point of those matches.
Yeah,
they weren't just sending them out there to have a match.
I don't know if they did that all along, but I don't know when the plan kicked in, but I think they rewarded Buddy because they realized that those matches were.
But he lost them all. Like
but still,
I think they were telling that story.
I think they.
You give them a lot more credit than I do, but I'm glad we're. I'm glad it worked out.
Well, here's
Paul
the thing.
Heyman's booking.
Here's where. Anytime I think, WWE is just a bunch of buffoons that don't plan anything and don't know what they're doing, I look back at what they did with Ronda Rousey, and I recognize that they are capable of telling incredible stories and protecting talent and doing the right thing.
Yes.
So when I look at something like Black and Murphy and think, like, boy, that really worked out, I'm more inclined to think they planned that because look, how many times has something organic happened and WWE stomped it out rather than going with it?
Right, but I think the same thing happened what's happening with Buddy Murphy, I think the same thing happened with Kofi last year, where it's like, oh, we didn't mean for that to happen, but look, we're just rolling with it.
Well, but that was literally due to an unforeseen circumstance, though.
Sure.
I feel like they
I don't think when they originally had Buddy Murphy knocking on Aleister Black's door, I don't think that's what the plan was. I think they had some incredible matches, and they were like, oh, well, we've got ideas for Black. We don't really have any ideas for Buddy Murphy, but we should reward him because he's been doing so good. Let's put him with...
Well, and again, without...
I feel like once they had the second match and Buddy Murphy didn't win, they had the plan.
Without getting too behind the scenes, it came out pretty early that Murphy was one of Paul Heyman's guys.
Yeah. I gotcha.
And that he intended to push him, and that's why he...
Aleister Black
started getting single
what I do appreciate, though, about, if we're talking about Raw and we're talking about things that we like, and we're not talking about Lashley and Lana at all, what we're talking
They're
about,
not your
though,
favorites, Mike?
what we're talking about, though, the Black Buddy Murphy thing was great. The matches themselves were great. The ending, the way that it ended for Buddy, anyway. We don't know what's happening with Aleister, but the way it ended for Buddy and having him included in that group, I think is a masterstroke. Also, I will say the stuff they've been doing with the U.S. title between Andrade and Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo has been just a blessing.
I'm not sold on...
It's a reason to watch.
I'm not sold on Humberto yet.
Oh, man.
He's got all the in-ring
He's a little young, but other than that, I mean, he's doing amazing things.
Oh yeah, he's getting the job done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to that match at the Rumble, and by most people know how it turned out. I don't expect him to win, but I'm finally glad.
I don't think he should win.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean,
Andrade is the guy.
I want Andrade to have a long run.
They had such a long start and stop. What the fuck are they doing with Andrade for over a year?
Yeah.
So they talk about somebody coming up from NXT.
Yep.
With, all the fucking talent.
Yep.
And ability in the world and fucking charisma. That dude, he I believe all of his matches, he's trying to beat the shit out of somebody.
And she is the best manager in. I'll say
she's
in
great.
the business.
Yeah?
In the business. she does stuff.
Well, except for Eddie Kingston.
Sure.
Well,
but let's see Eddie Kingston climb on a ladder and stop the guy from getting
He would, but he'd do it by stabbing him in the face with a screwdriver.
Yeah,
that's true.
Eddie Kingston's more just killing time for homicide.
That ladder.
All right, so we NXT recently renamed the NXT Women's Championship to the NXT Championship.
It's fine. I don't care. Whatever.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now there are two NXT championships.
That's weird. Okay.
I mean,
is that in response to Tessa Blanchard winning?
No,
it's supposedly in response to Becky on backstage talking about. And they totally misinterpreted what she said. I feel like Becky... Well, and she has come out since and said her point was not that there should be no distinction between men and women. Her point was that people who are good should get time. That it shouldn't be, we have 12 matches, there are going to be 3 women's matches and 9 men's matches. There should be 12 matches and the people who are best are going to get on TV.
Yeah.
She's right.
And I agree with that 100%. And as somebody who is on the side of the let's just call everybody an actor and get rid of the whole actress thing, because it doesn't... I understand that. That makes sense to me. But I think the blurring the gender lines in wrestling is a little silly and unrealistic. Tessa Blanchard notwithstanding, and we were talking about this on the way back to your place. I watched the street fight with her and Sami Callihan, and I went in like, this is going to be ridiculous. I don't like intergender stuff like that because, in general, realistically, an average woman is not going to have a successful fight against an average man. Now, Chyna, obviously, was not an average woman.
Yeah.
And I think what they did with her was awesome, and I think what they did with Tessa Blanchard is awesome because I watched that. If you go on YouTube and watch the street fight, I haven't seen any of the actual matches, but the street fight is very believable.
Yeah,
and being married to a woman who could easily whoop the shit out of me.
I got okay with intergender matches when I was watching Lucha Underground because they did that a lot. With Taya Valkyrie, with Eva Lise, and I thought it was fine. I understand that there's
believe that Camille could kill like 90% of the roster.
But if you get somebody like Braun Strowman who decides he's going to challenge,
I don't want to say I don't want to see any woman in the ring with Brock Lesnar,
right?
Because I'm just gonna. Because look, I mean, I have that problem already with AEW because their women's champion looks like a twig, and I don't take her seriously at all. But
I don't think that should happen any more than I think. Who's the little tiny guy in AEW?
Marco Stunt.
Yeah. Then I don't think Marco Stunt should be fighting anybody. It's just about stature. And the way that they're presented. Now, if Ronda Rousey had decided to go after the Intercontinental Championship, that's fine, but I think having a women's division is reasonable. Yeah. I don't think we're headed as a society with gender roles.
We have women's divisions in sports.
Right.
In real sports. So it makes sense that we would have it in wrestling. I don't see and there's enough talent that you don't need to mix it up.
And if they want, I think maybe the step would have been calling it the men's heavyweight championship. If they're going to do that, add men's.
Right.
There should create the distinction.
There shouldn't be a women's Royal Rumble and then a Royal Rumble. No. There should be a women's Royal Rumble and a men's Royal Rumble.
Right. Exactly. Yes. That's where the distinction should be.
We should bring the men down. It should be bringing the men down a notch and raising the women up a notch so that they're on equal footing.
I don't want to see Keith Lee going after Rhea Ripley.
I don't know.
That seems silly.
There's enough shenanigans going on in the NXT stuff anyway.
I'd kind of like to see Keith Lee beat up Britt Baker because she's a goddamn dentist.
Now we've already talked about this a little bit. I'm going to throw my super hot spicy take out there.
Okay.
And I'm going to watch Mike Gordon's face while I say it.
Oh, no.
I'd rather watch something objectively shitty like The Wedding than something mediocre like insert person versus person here. I would rather watch that Lashley and Lana wedding than watch
No Way Jose versus Mojo Rawley.
Right.
Okay. I'm not... I fast forward through both, so sure.
But I would rather the wedding exist than that generic match.
Here's the deal. I agree with the spirit of what you're saying. In general, there should be a variety. I want there should be space for all sorts of different shit, weird ass carny murder clowns and who. Their alternate, their
children's show host,
puppet show host. There should be room for that, and Shinsuke Nakamura, and
Oh, by the way, Sami Zayn. People cry so much. Let Sami Zayn wrestle. Let Sami wrestle. He's the best manager in the business right now.
No, he's not.
What?
Melina still. I'll put Melina. Not
Zelina.
Sorry, I'll put Zelina Vega over Sami Zayn.
Oh, I think Sami's phenomenal. I think he's elevated everybody he's worked with.
I don't think that's true.
And I
think he's completely unnecessary for Shinsuke Nakamura to get over.
Yeah, I disagree.
Wow. So, yeah, I don't agree. Wait, do you disagree with that?
I disagree with Mike.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
sorry.
I disagree, but I'd say I'd still rather see him wrestle.
And he's on TV lots every week, not destroying his body. So good for him.
But and to go back to what Dave said, though, I agree that there should be a variety of shit going on, and that you know, like you don't want just everybody's going to have a match to have a match all the time. Sometimes you need to break it up, and like if you do get like the era that like most people associate with the height of like in-ring competition, the SmackDown 6, like in the early to mid 2000s on SmackDown. Like the main angle while that was going on was like Dawn Marie revenge fucking Tori Wilson's father to death. So like,
did you say Tori Amos's father?
Tori Wilson's father. I said Tori.
Wow, things got weird.
I said Tori Wilson. You heard Tori Amos because
that's what I wanted to hear.
He did.
Yes?
He did. Yeah.
Because you just wanted it to be that weird, but it wasn't that weird. But it was plenty weird.
It was still plenty weird.
Yeah.
Poor Al Wilson. May he rest in peace.
Twice. Yeah. So like this has always been going on with WWE. They're always going to do weird ass corny drama shit, and like I said earlier, like keep it simple, stupid, and focusing on the titles is cool for me, but like the shitty fucking wedding got like 10 million YouTube views or something.
It got them,
and like
attention.
the ratings.
That's because
went
everybody
up.
wants to see, like, you know,
what kind of train wreck it was.
No, everybody wants to see like Lana have naked and cake. I mean, that's not a big. That's not. But
real quick, let me address the Sami Zayn thing. You are correct in a general sense that Nakamura and Cesaro do not need Sami Zayn.
I didn't say Cesaro didn't
to be successful.
I didn't say Cesaro didn't.
In WWE, though, they do.
Maybe, but let me address the wedding thing.
Okay.
Because I'm not saying that they should ban weddings from WWE. Lord knows there's been some really fantastic, silly ones, right?
Yeah.
Over the years. And I'm
going to put Billy and Chuck at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I would put them near the top as well. I mean, I don't think anything beats, like, you know, Test and Stephanie and that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the top, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But they've had some insane ones. That's why I'm like really curious to see how they handle like some of the weddings with some of the people, like the real connections that are being made backstage. But let's face it, anything with Bobby Lashley is going to be a train wreck. So, like, in my opinion. So like that's why that. But I will agree with you to the point where like they should never, ever just put two people out there to kill time.
Especially when one of them's Mojo Rawley.
If you are like responsible for any sort of entertainment whatsoever, especially that involves storylines, and I can tell you this from a writer and a person who just loves watching shit. Like, there should never be a reason, like, just, oh, well, we don't know what to do, just put these two people out there to kill some time. That should never, ever be a concern.
And to be fair, I don't think that happens much.
I feel like it happens less now. So there was a time where it seemed like it was happening a lot, like they didn't seem to know what they were doing. And I do get frustrated. Like, sometimes it'll just, you know, like, that's why I'm not a big fan of squash matches. Like, I am not a big fan of squash matches. Like, you know, just to have someone come out and, like, oh, Braun Strowman's going to beat this guy that we've never seen before. We all know how this is going to turn out. I mean, if Braun does something really cool during it, then maybe, but...
You're not a fan of Eric Rowan killing nameless jobbers and like
that storyline could go to hell.
Well, you know what's funny is I was going to say that doesn't bother me as much because at least there is a story involved beyond look at this giant person kill this little kid.
Yeah, but it's been going way too long.
And you know what? They can just keep doing it forever. It's fine.
Here's my problem with it is like nothing they're ever going to pay it off with.
Right. We'll be satisfied.
Yeah, so they might as well just like let it just go.
Unless he's got Vanguard 1, and that's why he keeps getting cut. The spinning blade.
And it would explain why when he looks in the cage, you get that POV shot.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make any sense.
He captured.
You may have figured it out. He's got Vanguard.
Like, so when I see stuff like that, it kind of bothers me. You know, like when they just truck out Matt Hardy now. Like, and I'm like, so this
terrible.
is the way. I mean, I know, he's not going to resign, so you're just going to burn what you have with him. But it's like, I mean, this guy should be treated better. I mean, he's a legend. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. We all know he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's how you treat a Hall of Famer? Yeah. No, that's not how you treat a Hall of Famer.
And, again, who really knows? We're just speculating.
Right.
That,
as far as we know, this is part of some big story.
It's not.
Vince,
I don't know that.
Vince seems real petty. Vince seems real fucking petty.
He does.
With the way that, the revival's been treated specifically, and Matt Hardy now. Dudes who are...
I think the revival's been doing fantastic. They've been getting on TV. They've been doing their thing.
The revival's been on TV way too much for anybody to say.
Yeah.
I think anybody who's on TV,
anybody who's on TV and has a story and you know where they're coming from and what their motivations are, that means that they're getting time.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy just gets shoved out there. And they go hey, everybody, it's Matt Hardy. Watch him get whooped.
I would rather not be on TV than have the Usos make me rub Usi hot on my balls.
Well, that was a stupid thing.
But that's the thing is they've got a job. They go out there, they do that job, and they use that to get themselves over. I mean, that's what the business has been for decades.
True.
If you get handed the yellow polka dots, you fucking put them on and make the best of it. I mean, that's the business.
I wish there was less of that in the business.
Yeah, I wish that storylines were better, motivations were better. The whole you guys are shaving each other was just dumb. In this day and age, it doesn't, it doesn't hold water.
That was dumb. For a locker room full of people who do that,
yeah, absolutely,
that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But as far as getting a goofy thing to have to do. That's how Dusty tested people in NXT.
Don't even get me started with Shorty G.
Go back and look. Yeah, that's really dumb, too. But he's taking it, and, it's slowly, he's not dressed up like a basketball player.
Look, I don't...
Which I didn't understand at all.
I don't think that Chad... I don't find fault with Chad.
No,
I just feel it's unfortunate for him because he had to change his name that way. I don't think he should have had to do that.
Well, especially when he goes out there and has a match with the Revival, who aren't even as tall as he is.
And now he's getting just beat by Sheamus every week. And that doesn't,
Which I wanted more out of Sheamus when he came back than the same thing he did when he came back 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to attack a short guy. Come on, man.
Yeah.
How cool would it have been, and this I just throw out there, and unfortunately, I sort of fantasy book in my head, and then I sort of ruin it for things because I see the potential and stuff.
I've tried to stop doing that.
But how cool would it have been if
Sheamus had come after Lesnar?
No. How cool would it have been if Sheamus had come out and immediately destroyed Cesaro, and they had a month or two feud?
Well, that's how they got started.
Right,
they had the best of 7 series.
Right, that's true. But you could bring that back in a way and then have just Sheamus go over.
Right,
see that
because we all know Cesaro's not going over.
Exactly. So, but he can put people over.
Yeah,
and that skill to me is as valid as it's ever. It took me a while when I first started watching wrestling to get it. That was one thing that it took years before I finally understood. Wait a minute. The goal for these guys, really, behind the scenes, isn't to beat up each other. The goal for both of these guys is to make one another look amazing and sell for each other.
And that's why tonight,
that's right.
We were cheering for Andre Gunn, even though we didn't know who the heck he was,
right?
Because he was facing what's his name? Royce. Was it Royce Isaacs?
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, it was Royce Isaacs.
Yeah, because he was such a good heel that even though we didn't know who this kid was, we were cheering for him because Isaacs was such a good heel.
Absolutely. And that's why some of my favorite wrestlers My all-time favorites were good at both. Like, I think Jericho's great at doing both, at putting himself over as well as other people.
Yeah.
As was Eddie Guerrero, as was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Christian, because he could put anybody over, and not make himself look terrible, in the process. You know,
I think being a good babyface and a good heel is very rare. I wouldn't even necessarily call Christian a great babyface.
Oh, I'm not talking about whether they're face or heel. I'm talking about whether they sell or they don't.
They can make. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, because that's a whole different thing. Like, you know,
well, that's why
there aren't a lot of people that can do both.
That's why Daniel Bryan's so fucking good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that took me a while to figure that out too. Daniel Bryan's good. The Miz is amazing at selling for people.
Yeah.
And it takes you.
And that's why Ric Flair probably will be, until I die, the best ever, because he could sell like a motherfucker.
It's true.
I can't. It's hard for me to say who's the best ever, because Shawn Michaels hadn't had the breaks in his career that he had. Because
good.
Watching that guy,
when he I'll never forget when he came back and had that street fight against Triple H. Again, like he hadn't wrestled in years.
And he thought he was going to die.
Yeah, like every time he did anything.
Here's the problem with Michaels and Flair as candidates for best of all time. Michaels' career wasn't long enough, and Flair's was way too long.
That's true.
Yeah, but like, I feel nobody ever.
I guess Michaels' career, because you got to go all the way back though to him being in the Rockers too,
right?
Sure. But I'm going to go with Michaels.
It's hard to argue.
I don't begrudge anyone for hanging on too long because they all fucking do it.
Yeah, sure.
Every single one of them.
But the problem is that Flair has almost as much of his career where his matches were
late 90s,
real great.
Yeah.
As great matches. We got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
I've got a few quick points to zip through. Anybody else notice? No more entrance videos. Now it's just a name that flashes. They don't do entrance videos anymore. It's literally just a little graphic with the name on it, and that's it.
Well, one thing that I think this is like how the WWE in particular is saying, we have way too much money. Those stupid little computer graphics that they put in front of folks, just does nothing for me. And
are you talking about the ones floating?
Yeah,
I love that. I like it.
I think it's ridiculous. It's like, we have way too much money.
The little Bliss crossheads.
I like the crossheads, but then the dog, and then the dog.
I like that stuff.
They'll show back up at WrestleMania, I guarantee you.
They do them on Raw and SmackDown.
If they did them at WrestleMania only, that would be one thing, but they do them all the time.
I like them.
I'm more on Mike's side.
All right. Top of your head.
Ciampa still has his glass shattering NXT entrance video.
But it's not, they don't do it used to be like a package.
Right.
Yes.
I know what you're saying.
And those are gone.
No, you gotta move things.
All right.
You can't just...
Real quick, this is unfair, but off the top of your head, top 5 wrestlers right now, current wrestlers.
Now, number 1 is Daniel Bryan. Shit. Are these just my personal top 5?
Yeah, your personal. Okay. Not like they've changed the industry, just like the 5 you like watching the most.
Number 1 is Daniel Bryan. Number 2 is Keith Lee. Number 3 is Rhea Ripley. Number 4 is Shayna motherfucking Baszler. And number 5 is Becky Lynch. Number 5 is Becky Lynch, Asuka. Flip a coin.
Yeah, that one's tough. Shayna Baszler, Tommaso Ciampa, Asuka. Just blanked. Thinking about storylines real quick. Matt Riddle. Bobby Lashley, for sure. That's my 5th. No, Matt Riddle. Who I 100% thought would be where Keith Lee is right now.
Yeah, you also weren't high on Matt Riddle at first.
Well, no, I hated his character.
Yeah.
I recognized that he was good. I just hated his character. And I still, I mean, look, I wouldn't want to hang out with a dude like that.
Right.
But he's so over and he's so fucking good in that ring and believable.
Yeah.
Everything is believable.
I really want to see him fucking have a match with Brock before Brock hangs it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, well, before Brock stops being good.
Now, are you guys selecting only WWE guys on purpose?
No. I think
okay.
because
I make sure because I don't. I mean, even though I kind of pay attention a little bit to the other promotions out there, mine are all going to be WWE as well.
Yeah, I and even like look,
Nick Aldis is in my top 10,
and that's Nick Aldis. As much as I think he's the greatest current champion, I can't honestly say he's one of the most compelling.
He's fantastic.
Wrestlers.
He's fantastic at what he does.
Yes.
Like, he knows how to get a reaction out of a crowd within like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's fucking visceral. Like, he will compel a reaction out of you.
And he gets in the ring and is a ring general.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. Nothing is wasted. He's just
like, even
tremendous.
when he's standing on the apron in a tag team match, he's doing something that adds... And it's not just, hey, look at me. It's, how do I make this the best possible match it can be?
I can't come up with a fifth. I can't come up with a fifth person that I'm just like...
I thought you said 5.
I guess... No, I didn't. I never got to a fifth. I guess it would be Becky Lynch. I mean, she's been kind of cool in her jets lately, but I can't say... Like, I want to see her do stuff. She
Right.
just, up until just recently, really hasn't been.
No, Adam Cole.
But now.
Oh, look, Adam Cole's, I mean, he would make my top 10. He's turned me around, even though he's a tiny little boy.
But now she's finally got an opponent worthy of her.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited again. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, you know.
That match
I mean,
is going to be the fucking shit tomorrow.
I think so. I hope so.
Nah, it's like because they're the only couple times they've been in the ring together have been fucking awesome. Like even in like the tag match at TLC, which unfortunately Kairi Sane almost got murdered at. But
yeah.
So Mike, you're
my 5. I'm not just off the top of my head, Becky Lynch, AJ Styles, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, baby, and Shayna Baszler. That's I mean, that could change in another
right, and that's the thing is like it also.
There's other people that I tune in. Like I can really tell easily who I like because I don't fast forward through them.
yeah,
like oh, I want this is on the mat. Okay,
I do want to like throw out an honorable mention to Roderick Strong because that dude has had like
He's great. He's amazing.
He's had some of the best fucking matches of the year.
Yes.
Like his match against Matt Riddle
that
earlier this year.
That match that they had at Survivor Series with him, Nakamura, and AJ was. I mean, you kind of know like who's this Roderick Strong guy, but yet he holds his own with those two.
Well,
it was
he's
great.
He's been around for
Sure, the
forever.
Messiah of the Backbreaker.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Best tag team.
Shit.
I'll start this one, and granted, they just got back, but I think the Usos.
Oh, the Usos are Hall of Fame tag team.
They are
Period. I'll back that.
Incredible.
I'll back that.
It's hard because like the WWE doesn't do a very good job with their tag team divisions on Raw and SmackDown, and so many of the like really good tag teams on NXT have been called up in the past year.
Yeah,
but the Dusty Cup was phenomenal.
Well, yeah, and like I'm just going to go ahead and say Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish.
Okay.
Like, they're fucking incredible, and I hope they stay a tag team forever. I hope they stay in NXT forever, but I feel like...
I don't know
that's
who thought
probably
of
not
teaming
gonna
up
happen.
Riddle and Dunn. Give them the cup because
well, they're gonna win it. And
man, that match is going to be ridiculous. ridiculous.
And
Their matches have been insane.
I just want to say, like, I am very fucking pleased that grizzled young veterans have gotten a chance to shine in the Dusty Cup, because Zach, like, okay, James Drake is just kind of a dude, but like Zach Gibson, like Dave tries to fucking throw, praise Baron Corbin's way for only wanting to be a heel. Zach Gibson is who Baron Corbin wants to grow up to be. Like, that dude does not want you to ever fucking cheer him once. Like, he will go out of his way to make you hate him, and he'll make fun of you for where you live, but it's not gonna be like, oh, you have a dumb sports team. It's gonna be like the thing that he said, like, was it all you neckbeards here at Full Sail?
When he said the all you hipsters pretending you know who Alex Shelley is.
Yeah,
that was great. That was great.
Yeah,
but this is the first I've ever seen of this guy. So
he's so fucking good. He's so fucking good.
Like, I'll take your word for it.
Go, like, the next time...
I'm not going to go anything.
All right, fine.
Whatever he does from here on out, I'll when he's in NXT, but I'm not going on the YouTubes or anything.
Right,
there's too much wrestling to watch as it is without
not going back.
Down. Yeah. All right, let's see here. That's pretty much everything that I had. Were there any specific things, Mike? Anything?
So let me ask you guys this. So
Okay.
here's a good. Who's someone, and you can pick any promotion. Who's someone right now that we should keep an eye on, that you think you hope is got great things ahead of them, that you hope.
If you'd asked
hard to
me
say.
6 months ago, I would have said Keith Lee, but like that's too obvious of an answer right now. Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
because he's obviously got a rocket.
The minute in
strap
Survivor
to him.
Series they put him against Roman, they pulled the trigger on him being like, the thing.
I think there are a lot of people capable of huge things.
But is there anybody in particular
But it's
you're rooting
hard
for?
to say. Now,
Here's
anybody I'm
someone-
rooting for.
Yeah,
Here's
who out
somebody
there
that
are
I
you rooting
think-
for that you hope becomes.
Here's somebody that I think is it's almost impossible for them to fuck up is Matt Riddle.
Oh, I don't know. They can.
I feel like they've already made a weird misstep by not, and maybe they feel like he's not quite ready for it yet. But my gosh, earlier this year, I thought that guy would be the champ by now.
I feel like he's not ever going to be NXT champ. He's going to get
He
called
would
up.
go straight over. Well,
gonna go
I don't
straight up.
think of it as called up anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they think of it as called up anymore either.
Yeah.
Not since they got the
I don't
USA
think that-
deal.
I don't
I
think
think
that's a
they're
thing.
it's their third promotion now.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't.
and
I don't see
I'm
as
fine
many
with that.
transfer over, but some will.
But
Obviously, I think there's some need there, but
I think a feud with him and Brock is fucking money.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like,
what, Riddle and Brock?
yeah.
Oh wow, yeah,
Although, if I had my druthers, Brock would just be gone.
yeah. Me too.
I'm over it, and I understand he draws, but I'm just tired of that.
I would like to.
I'm tired of him being champion.
I
Like,
understand.
I'm sick of absentee,
Yeah.
main champion.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so limiting because, like we just saw with Rollins and Murphy winning the tag titles, it's sometimes you need a championship to elevate a story, and Rollins' faction needed gold. Well, you can't. It can't be Brock's title, right?
And the
It
U.S.
can't
title
be
is
the U.S. title,
so it's got to be the
so it
tag
had to be
titles.
the tag titles.
It could have been the U.S. title. They just would have had to figure out some other way to.
And Andrade
Because-
needs that for his story, right?
because AJ and Randy don't need the title.
Yeah, but Andrade's got it now.
Andrade's got the title.
Oh, that's right. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay, you're right.
No,
you're
he
right.
needs it.
Yeah, you're right. He does need it. You're right. You're right. He does need it. Okay, case in point. You're right.
No, AJ and Randy don't need anything. They're
No,
on
you're right.
fire.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
great.
Which is proof that
They
you don't.
could
always-
have just gone and gotten the 24/7 title, Dave.
Which
Oh
is
my
proof
gosh.
that you don't even, although I was sort of mad at Randy for doing that, promo where he's like, I'm gonna, I might not be able,
I thought that was great.
It ended up being great, but
I liked
I
it.
was mad for a little while. But I was,
I
but
kinda
it worked
hope-
for me.
I kind of hope that it's a triple threat between AJ, Randy, and
I'll tell you-
Drew.
I'll tell you who to keep an eye on. We saw them tonight. Two youngsters named Robert and Ricky, who I think
they got,
really have some good years ahead of them.
Yeah.
I think they're really going to set this wrestling world on fire.
I love.
They're definite Hall of Famers.
Yes, absolutely.
No, they're current Hall of Famers.
They're past Hall of Famers.
Like I love that. Like they're doing stuff with them, but at the same time, like I'm also happy that they lost the titles at the pay-per-view last night.
Oh yeah, that needed to happen. They couldn't. It was fun, and we can enjoy it as long as it's a nostalgic. Wow, this is really cool to see this, but they don't need to be the champs.
Nah.
I don't know. That's tough. There are a lot of people. Mia Yim, I think, is awesome, but I don't know how old she is and how many years she has ahead of her. I know she's been around for a while.
She's like early 30s. Like
I think she's got
more tread on her tire than Shayna Baszler.
They just brought, like, I guess in the indie scene, she's been feuding with this one woman, like
Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, they just brought her up. So expect big feud there.
Shotzi Blackheart has already been pretty interesting, and I'm very impressed with the difference in her appearance from the first time we saw her to this past week. She already got new gear, like her gear is TV ready now, whereas it was not before.
Right.
So I think that's because you don't always see that. People don't always recognize they need to do that.
Well, I think NXT was telling her, like, I think they have a thing to say about that. You can tell that's the difference between like NXT and WWE, and then like the NWA stuff we watched.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you can just tell there's a level that
there's a level of polish to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
not everybody can look as good as Ricky Starks.
No.
All right, we got to wrap this thing up. Was there anybody you?
I think. I would like to see this year. I would like to see Ricochet in something significant because I think he really is capable of just lighting the industry on fire. And
nobody else is capable of doing what he does. Is the thing.
That's what I'm saying. And I think he right now they've just been throwing him out there with no storyline.
Well, and that's the thing is I think his talent almost works against him.
Yeah, well, they need to figure out a good story for him.
And the top of the WWE card feels very
stagnant. He could get a girlfriend who cuckolds him with Bobby Lashley.
Oh, boy.
And I will also say, and I'll just say, I guess because it was on my mind, because tonight, I'd only seen her like wrestle a couple times, but then watching her tonight, and she just won the NWA Women's Championship last night. Mm-hmm. But Thunder Rosa, I think
she's legit.
She is legit, and I don't expect her to stay in NWA for long.
No, probably not.
So I mean, and if she does, God bless NWA for keeping her, and hoping, but that division and helping that division, like with the women, But she's the real deal. Like some of these promotions, I haven't figured out women's wrestling yet, still, which is stupidly embarrassing for them. Yeah. But NWA is off to a good track with the ones that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're using everybody in that division to the fullest of their capabilities.
I think so.
Well, and that's one of the things I really like about NWA is it reminds me a lot of Paul Heyman's ECW, where they are highlighting people's talents and sort of covering their shortcomings.
Right? Like you're not asking Aaron Stevens to go out and give you like a 5-star Meltzer match.
Right. Like, everybody understands what they're capable of.
Everything he does is so hilarious, and it's such a breath of fresh air and a nice change of pace that it's welcome and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Plus, the dude's just funny.
He is genuinely funny, and another person who knows how to work the crowd.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, so we're going to end by putting Aaron Stevens over, which is not necessarily where I thought we would be, but there it is.
No, it's 2020. It's 2020 is the year of Damian Sandow. So there you go.
All right. Well, you guys, thanks for sitting down and talking about wrestling. I'm going to go home and get some sleep, and then get up tomorrow and watch
more wrestling.
Yeah.
In fact, when you guys leave,
road to WrestleMania,
I'm going to watch Worlds Collide.
I hope you're going to go watch some Dickie Gibson videos or whoever it is you were talking about.
We are now on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, we are. We are.
We are, in fact, on the road to wrestling.
Whew, buddy, I did not realize we went 2 hours on that thing, which is okay, because it was a great conversation. We had a lot of fun talking. We covered a lot of different topics, and while we did more complaining than I wanted to do, I think we also had enough positivity in there for me to feel good about it. And look, if you're a real wrestling fan, there's no way you can discuss the business, especially an entity as large as WWE, without lodging some complaints. And I can be positive about WWE overall, but there are things that I'm not going to say they don't do well. They don't do in a way that I would do were I them. But guess what? Were I them, maybe I wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Who knows? At the end of the day, I like wrestling, and wrestling's fun in lots of different ways. What else have I got here? I wish I had some cool toy news, but Toy Fair is like right around the corner, so there's not a whole lot coming out right now. Keep an eye on Needless Things Podcast on Instagram. Follow Phantom Troublemaker on Instagram. I update them both, and I try to keep different content on each one. I honestly can't tell you what my criteria is for what belongs on the podcast page and what belongs on my personal page, but I do put some thought into it, and I try to keep them both interesting when I can post. Gosh, you guys, I'm tired and worn down. I had a meeting after my regular 12-hour shift. But I think I upped my equity during that meeting, which could be good or bad. I don't know. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.